Today what went wrong? We go big because we burned our home to the ground. Hi, I'm Brett Mauser, and I made over 40 feature films because I wanted to, and I didn't care what it cost.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about just money here. I'm talking about the sacrifices that we made.
Right.
And what we're talking about is going big or going home.
Yeah.
And always shoot big.
Right.
If you have those aspirations to do something,
Right.
rather than just go to your regular 40-hour-a-week job, retire, and then die in your 80s or whatever. I want to have a life of adventure and accomplishment.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of people out there that have lost that drive to accomplish something. Maybe only 90% of people have it. Don't even have it to begin with. I don't know. Maybe that's just human nature. But I'm somebody that had a dream, just didn't know how not to do it.
Right.
I just had to go and do it.
You're like a bumblebee. You had no idea you couldn't fly.
Yeah, and I just went and did it.
You're too stupid to know you couldn't fly.
Yeah, 10 films in a year. You're not supposed to do that. Can't do that. That's not really, it is, why not?
Why not?
I want to do it. This is, I had an idea. I want to do this epic. And I had made enough films along the way to know how actors drop out, and you're not going to have the actors for this long, and people have lives, and they go do this, and they go do that. And I didn't have tens of thousands of dollars to pay people.
Right.
So I knew if I was going to accomplish this and keep the cast, I only had a year to do this.
Yeah.
To play it safe. Which, saying safe, kind of goes back to some of the other conversations we've had. Now, there is a difference between, when we're talking about going big and really chasing after that dream, that there is a difference between playing it safe and playing it smart.
Right.
You can sometimes look at the choices that I've made and say, oh, that was cowardly, or you didn't go full force. You didn't go, it's like, safety be damned in some cases, but I'm still going to play it smart. And that's not to say that I was playing it safe.
There's a difference between being foolhardy and cautious. There's also a difference between charging haphazardly where fools may go.
Now, there's a time to do that.
Yeah. There is a time to order the charge. Like when the 20th Maine is facing the Battle of Little Round Top and they're out of ammunition, and the only thing they have left to do is charge down the hill. That's all they've got. They have nothing else. You charge. It's insane. It's crazy, but it was the right thing to do. Okay. And then there's the Light Brigade that charged across the valley, a valley of death, attacking guns they weren't supposed to attack. Okay. And so that is a foolhardy idea. Okay. There's a difference between doing the thing and doing it smart and well because you know what you're doing, or even if you don't know what you're doing, you've examined and this is your best option. Okay, even in the face of horrible odds, this is your best option. Or just doing something foolhardy and dumb because you think you were told to do it or because this is what you believe, but there's no evidence to show that this is the right way. And had a smarter commander persisted, maybe they wouldn't have. Or if it wasn't the British, but that's a different story altogether.
Yeah, because when I was making my first films, people always said, well, why didn't you wait and save up and have a lot of money and put more money into it and you'd have a better film? I was smart enough to know I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Yeah.
So why am I going to put tens of thousands of dollars into something?
Right.
I am guilty of having put $1,000 here, $5,000 there. Putting more money into a film that I shouldn't have. But I always knew where the line was. Right. I was like, well, I'm not putting, hey, this is going to cost so much.
No, it's not.
Yeah, because I'm not going to spend that.
Yeah.
One of the, in Lady Lawman, there's a clip in there that when I edited it, I used it to a piece of copywritten music, so I always knew I wasn't going to be able to do it.
Right.
So I had to go and have somebody score it because it's a very important scene, and I couldn't just use copywritten music. I couldn't find anything. I was like, I need to find somebody to do this specifically tailored to the scene.
Right.
And Pablo Schmidt, who did the whole score to The Specialists, which was just a short film. It was a little 12-minute film that we did with Jade and the girls. He scored the entire thing. Loved it. The score is beautiful.
Yeah.
contacted him, and in a couple of days, he was able to get it all together and do this, and we collaborated on it. And I said, I did tweak this here. Oh, there's a little thing here. Otherwise, it's great, but this and I would love to be able to just pass over, finish a feature, the main editing, hand it on to him, and say, go. But I also respect him enough that I know his skills aren't for free.
Yeah.
And when you're making a movie for $3,000, you don't have that money
right.
to shovel out to those to the great people like that.
Right.
And there have been times where I've had a little extra money, and I've given some money to somebody to work with the sound, to master the sound. Actually, at the request of two of my actors. Use this guy; he's really great. And he did all right, but I was like, I still feel like I could have done this myself.
Right.
I want somebody who's going to get in there and make it sound perfect and really do this and do that. And I was a little, disappointed. And so it's sort of like, I'm gun shy when it comes to writing those checks and sending some money to people. But it's not that I don't understand how much a score from Pablo would improve the film. Yeah. He would do a remarkable job. But that has to wait until I make a movie that brings in a lot of money, and then I can take that money and then do another one that's even better. The
idea of go big or go home, or aim small, miss small, from what's his name, is that you throw all in, but not haphazardly, not in a foolhardy fashion. You don't make 10. You don't say you don't for your students. You don't raise $10,000 and then throw it on one film that you don't really know what you're doing, because all you're really doing is blowing $10,000. It's not that you're not good enough. Wait, yes, it is. It's that you're not good enough. Now, anything that anyone has ever done, except for the very few. I mean, the ones that are so weird and unusual that they make it on TV news programs and stuff like that. Anytime that you are going to learn how to do anything, you suck when you first start. Okay, when I started playing saxophone, I sucked. I was horrible. I didn't know what the I was doing. When I started flying airplanes, wasn't very good at it. Didn't know what I was doing. When I first started marching, when I first started doing all kinds of things, I was not very good at it because you don't know what you're doing. Anytime you start off, when you're working, you don't get paid a whole lot. You're not very good at it yet. You don't know how to do the good things. You don't know how to do the great things. You don't know how to... even football players, they pay you a lot of money up front, but you're not really going to get the big money until you start showing that you can do this stuff consistently. Because I don't know how many players, the guys have come in there and they pay them a lot of money because they did really well in college, but then they get to professional and they're awful. There's all kinds of stories about guys that are doing that. Whereas you get someone like, Peyton Manning or what's his name, or Tom Brady, the greatest of all time. And there's a reason they get paid a ton of money, because they can take a loser football team into the Super Bowl the next year, because that is what they do. When you get to the level where you've been doing this 5, 10, 8, 20, whatever the thing is for what you're doing, then you start being able to make the money because you're good at it. You have taken whatever dream you've had or whatever you're trying to do, and you ground it out and paid your dues to get where you need to be in order to have what it is that you want. It's how you do that. Do you say your guys one of your students wants to be a producer? I don't know. Let's say producer. So he has to go somewhere where there are producers doing producer things for whatever they're producing. Well, where is that? I don't know, but he has to go there. Okay, well, there he goes. And then he has to hang out somewhere to learn how to producing things. Okay, so then he starts off doing that. Is he going to get paid much? Nope. Is he going to be part of a crew? Probably. Is he going to be doing something else? Maybe. Films? Absolutely. Not a lot of money. Nope. When's the money going to come? I don't know. A year from now? 5 years from now? 10 years from now? Never. Because it is entirely possible you will do everything that you can. You will do everything right. You will try very, very hard. You'll be like me and go through plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, Q, P, Z, and you will never actually get where you want to go. Sometimes that happens. It sucks. That's called life. You should learn about it. But you will have to put in a certain amount of time, put in a certain amount of effort. You will have to go big. And what that means is you may have to sacrifice. You're going to have to put off the new car, the bigger house, the girlfriend, the boyfriend, having kids, all this other stuff that you may have to put off until later. Maybe you won't get it, I'm in my second career, third career-ish. I started when I was 17 years old, and my first career until I was 30, and I had to start all over again.
Well, that's why.
But the thing is, when it happened, I'm like, let's do this. Now, we talk about plan A, plan B. I had plan A, plan B, plan C, whatever else, and none of it was working. But I kept at it. I kept working. I kept saying, it, I'm going big or going home. And just because you fail once or twice or 3 times or 10 times or 20 times doesn't mean you failed at what you're trying to do. Keep at it. You will eventually, hopefully, get there, or you will realize that maybe you should be doing something else. And that's possible. I'm sorry, go ahead.
And I think one of the reasons, I haven't had a relationship, that was successful was because I in the back of my head, I always sabotage myself.
Maybe.
In a way. Because I knew that wasn't where I was going and that was going to be a distraction from where it was.
It's possible.
But we're talking about putting money into a film like that. There have been people that I've seen put $80,000 into a short film, and I'm like, why? And it didn't even. It was his first film, and it sucked.
It was horrible.
But even if you were good, why would you put $80,000 into a short film? You're never going to sell it. You're never going to make money on it. And while I'm the person that's going to say, money was never the main issue for me, it wasn't the main issue. But it was an issue.
It's an issue.
Because I want to make that money so I can go and make better films and more films.
Right.
And had I gone in, this is for those people that were like, hey, why don't you wait and put all this money into your films? Had I put $80,000 into a film, I would still be paying for it. If I did 20 years ago, took out a loan or, had something for $150,000 and that would still be over my head. Yeah. And do you think I'd be making movies right now? Mm-hmm. No, I wouldn't be able to. And I wouldn't have a relationship because there ain't going to be a woman that's going to marry me if I got $150,000 debt for a movie,
Yeah, that no one wanted to see.
That nobody wanted to see. So I made movies that nobody wanted to see for no money, and I wasn't out anything but my own time.
Right.
But if I had spent all this money on those films, I wouldn't be a filmmaker today because as even when I put like $3,000 into a film, 3 months down the road, I'm hurting from that. I'm like, I am going to give film a little bit of a break. And that was just like $2,000 or $3,000. Now, have $150,000 hanging over your head, and you're like, I think I'm good with film for now.
Yeah.
And you're going to wait, and even when you whittle it down, you haven't made any films. You're out of experience. You're done.
Currency is very important in your world. Currency is important in my world. Currency is important in your world. You have to keep banging away at what you're doing in order to succeed. Things I was trying to learn, I had to do over and over and over and over again until I got it right. But even getting it right, it's one of we talk about landings being the elusive thing everyone's always chased. We can do everything perfectly and everyone's going to grade you on your landing. It's like, God damn it. Mm-hmm. Your film, whichever film you make, that's your landing. You could do all this work and all this stuff and everything else could go right and the production can go well and the filming could go great and the editing is fantastic and the music is beautiful and the scenery is this. And at the end of the day, if the film is it doesn't matter. That's what they're going to look at you for. You may be really, really good at all this other stuff. You may be a great producer. You may be a fantastic director. You may be able to decide what looks good and what doesn't look good. Your scenes may be gorgeous. But if you don't know what you're doing to put it all together at the very end, what does it matter?
I've never come out and bragged about a movie before.
Right.
You know that. Mm-hmm. I've always said, hey, this is great. This is a fun movie that's coming here. Hey, Sierra Rabbit. Hey,
we had a lot of fun doing it. We had a great time.
But I've never said, holy shit, this is a great movie.
Yeah.
This one I am.
Yeah.
And I'm going to sing it from the rooftops.
I'm going to say.
And try to get as many people to watch this.
Yeah.
And So I'm going to use that as an example.
Okay.
I could not have made Lady Lawman had I not learned what I did on the others.
Right.
I'll give you an example. And these are conscious thoughts that I made on sets.
Okay.
I can look at a movie like The Benders, where I really cut my teeth on special effects.
Right.
I learned After Effects on that movie. That's all I learned. That we've talked about that before, where The Benders was my special effects movie.
Special effects movie.
Characters, forgot about those. Plot, forgot about it. Storyline, forgot about it. Character arcs, oops. But the special effects, I figured
We
out.
really should have had anybody in that movie. Just have the special effects.
Yeah.
It'd have been great.
So fast forward, here we are in Lady Lawman, a western. Not a lot of special effects, but there are.
There are a lot.
There's one major one. There's the explosion with the dynamite, and it was all okay. Taking what I learned from that movie and other movies, but going, okay, I got to get this right. It's got to be believable, and it wasn't just the explosion; it was the sound effects, it was the beep, it was the heartbeat, it was all that blending.
The way they flew, the parts of guys flying through the air,
Yeah.
that was just trippy.
It was part of that stuff, learning from the Benders, and being able to do that. But it was also covering up cones that were in the background. It was a Coke or a Dr. Pepper bottle in someone's jacket that I had to figure out how to erase that, because they may have had Dr. Pepper back then, but it wasn't in a plastic bottle.
No, probably not. Spindletop wasn't quite a thing yet.
So the Benders, I was able to learn special effects. Benders, bad movie, but special effects were great. I learned that. Throughout the Innocent Saga, one of the things that I would do a lot is get these extreme close-ups to be able to hide the background and things like that. So that became sort of my style, were these very close, extreme close-ups. Not a single one in Lady Lawman.
Yeah.
There's a lot of medium shots, and it just felt more natural, and and I made those conscious decisions to go with a standard medium shot rather than extreme close-ups.
Okay.
And those were decisions that I learned from Innocent Saga.
Right.
And had I not made those mistakes, and I was doing those mistakes of extreme close-ups for a reason back then, and that became part of my style. And I had to get away from that because I was seeing through my other films that the extreme close-ups weren't working, and they didn't need to be.
Right.
So it was making those other movies that allowed me to take those steps. It was things like going out and shooting Bass Reeves, which was the other Western. Being able to know what worked and what didn't work. We got a lot of things. The glasses, it was in Bass Reeves. There were some characters that wore modern day glasses that every time I look at now, it just drives me up the wall. And I'm like, I wish my special effects were good enough that I could actually wipe them out, but I can't. So getting onto set on Lady Lawman, there was a lot more. I still missed some stuff, but it's just me and maybe one or two other people.
Right.
That may not even know what they're looking for.
Right.
But even, I'll still be, there was one shot where it was when I'm shooting at the Lawman, and there's just this moment where I leave camera, and just for a split second, there's a teeny tiny little car all the way in the background that speeds by. And I'm like, you can barely see it. I don't think I need to do anything. I need to do something about that. So, and I didn't even notice it until the 20th time I was watching it.
Right.
But I learned from the deer feeders in Bass Reeves and the glasses in Bass Reeves that, yes, I have to do something about that. Yeah. Because of that, it gave me not only the skills and the ability and the knowledge, but the confidence to go, okay, I can do that. Now, there's still going to be things that slip by.
And confidence that's one of those little X factors that people don't talk about. Confidence in your ability, confidence in knowing what you need to do. Should I do it? Should I not do it? How do I do it? Can I do it? That's so much of everything that you do. Once again, in my world, confidence is huge. It means the difference of your success and failure at times.
Not to be confused with arrogance, which a first-time filmmaker
Not to be confused with arrogance, because arrogance will get you in trouble. And like I said, once again, in my world, arrogance gets you killed. Will get you killed. You will die. And a lot of people with you, typically. Confidence and arrogance are two separate creatures. We are talking about confidence. The ability to know that you can do what it is you need to do what you got to do. And you build that confidence by success or failures. I have gotten confidence because of failures that I have had, knowing, okay, can't do that. Okay, that's not the right way to do whatever. Or make sure I do this other thing. And then the next time I go back to do whatever it is I'm doing, and I nail it every time, you know. The confidence to succeed is got by failure. Or not so much failure, but attempting to do something that you might not achieve. Or attempting to do a smaller goal that you might achieve, which then teaches you I can do the next thing. Okay? And as a filmmaker, as a student of film, what everyone needs to realize, and it's stuff you kind of know as a human being, you should, is that you are born not knowing how to do a goddamn thing. Basically, you are a little bag that sits around and just eats. That's all you know how to do. You're taught how to do everything, and you're not very good at any of it when you start. I mean, anyone trying to see a baby try to run a marathon, you know why? Because it's too small and stupid to do how to do it. You don't know how to do it yet. But you get to the point to where you can run a marathon. Okay? Well, human beings go from a mewling, puking bag of to a marathon runner. And how many years does that take? And how much dedication? And how much work? And how many just other things you have to do? How many other half marathons, partial marathons, and eating right, and exercise, and working, and suffering, and puking, and yourself again to get to that point to where you can run a marathon. Okay? How many times has a person failed before they are able to run that marathon? How many times has a person failed before they're able to make that good film? How many times has a person failed before they can take that test, or fly that plane, or meet that girl, or do that thing, or get that job? Okay? To do that, you have to work, and you have to start small. But that does not mean you aim small to hit that small target. You aim big, and this is your first target that you hit. And you keep building from there. You keep aiming up, and keep aiming further, and keep pushing more. You will get to where you want to go, or you won't. But unless you try for it, you certainly never will.
Yeah, and the reward is incredible. And
Oh my God.
I'm here to say that because I give you my main goals in life. When I got out of high school and decided that film was going to be my career, not magic,
Right.
my first goal was I want to be on Blockbuster shelves. And that was 91. You know, and it
Blockbuster was everything.
Yeah, and it took until 2004. But I got on Blockbuster shelves with Barrio Angels.
Yeah.
And then Cartel Killers.
Yeah.
And then Shadow Dragon.
Yeah.
And then it was, so there were 3 movies on Blockbuster shelves. And then it's like, okay, well, what do I do next? And then that was when Netflix was coming in.
was
I was like,
big.
I want to be on Netflix. So we got 4 films in their catalog and 1 on instant streaming. And it's like, yeah, all right. Then what was the next one? It's like, well, it's time for the Innocent Saga. I want to make this epic. Which it was originally, this is just a story I want to tell.
Yeah.
I want to tell the Innocent
It's a great
Saga.
story.
And it came down to, okay, it's got to be 10 films in a year. So, okay, I made 10 films in a year. And they weren't, all these films, obviously, I'll be the first one to say they weren't great. They had their issues. They had their problem. They were low budget. They had problems. Mm-hmm. But they had their great moments too.
Yeah.
So, my next goal, and keep in mind, there weren't other goals. These were just these were the main. That's was my focus for for 91 to 2004. Blockbuster. I'm going to get a film on Blockbuster, and I did. And then after Innocent Saga, my next goal, I want to make a great movie. And it took me until this year to make one that I'm like, this is a great movie. And if somebody comes and wants to slam it or wants to talk about it, I'm completely confident now in telling them, you're just a nitpicker, you're just a hater, because this is a good film.
It is
and I
good.
can say that because I'll be the first to say any one of those other films that I've made, I have said, they're not great films, but they're fun.
Yeah.
Now, the reward for me is I go tomorrow. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Look how many goals I set for myself.
The nuclear war comes for you.
And I met, yeah. And I met those goals. And it takes away fear from your life.
Yeah.
Because you've accomplished that goal. Yeah. And then, of course, you always want another goal after that.
Right.
I'm working on figuring out what my next goal is.
It's I for someone who doesn't like movies, I sure use a lot of movie quotes. It's like, you got to find a new dream.
Yeah.
You know?
And I understand that there's going to be one dream that I'm not going to fulfill. And I don't know what that is, but it's going to depend on when I croak, when I die.
Right.
Because I'll always be chasing something.
Say something.
But because I accomplished that first goal all the way back then, in 2004, with getting my film on a Blockbuster shelf, I no longer have that fear of death.
Right.
Because I did it. I did what I wanted to do.
Right.
And then the next goal, I did what I wanted to do.
Right.
Right now, I'm content. I am happy with what I did with my life.
It's and there's a difference between being content at what you're doing and being complacent in what you do. That's why you find a new dream. I was the same way. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that. I wanted to do other things, and I got some of them. Didn't get others. But I was always chasing the big overall goal, which I happen to have gotten. And knock on wood, it'll last for the next 17 years until I have to retire. But I was always chasing something, some ethereal goal. Maybe I'd get there, maybe I didn't. And like I said, there's a lot of goals that I had that I didn't even get close, not even a little bit close, all right? But even as failure would hit me, I was looking for the next thing. I was like, all right, that didn't work out. And there's really and I would pound at it for a while and finally just come to the realization, all right, it's not going to work out. It's just not going to work out. Now what do we do? Let's try something else. Because I had an end goal in mind. And for me, it was getting these other goals to get to the end goal. And I ended up getting to the end goal through the back to the side, and because why not? But I was always aiming, I don't want to use the Air Force's slogan, I was always aiming high, Oh God, that stupid poster, I hate the motivational posters you see in work. I don't have an office, thank God. And if I did, I'd be just at the motivational posters. But there's one that I have to go with, and it says, if you aim for the stars and miss, at least you're in the sky, or at least you're in the heavens. It's kind of one of those things. And it's like, ugh. But it's right. It's accurate. If you shoot as high as you possibly can, even if you don't get there, look at what you've done already. You have to, and with that, you can't just necessarily fling yourself into the sky. You've got to learn how to get to the point where you can fling yourself in the sky. You may not be ready to do whatever, okay? That does not mean that you stop. I am not ready to be, a pilot of a 747 when I'm 17 years old. There's no way. That doesn't mean I just give up. Oh, I can't do it. Oh. No, I have to build a success. I have to do this. I have to go somewhere. I got to, go to college, and then I got to, be in the military, and I got to get money for school. I have to do this, and I have to work here, and I have to do that. I have to work and push and give up. I give up family. I give up friends. I give up holidays. I give up this. There's a cost for everything.
Yeah, you're talking about sacrifices, and that's something that took a long time for me to figure out. I mean, and you'll attest to this, until just about a year ago, relationships were a disaster.
Train wreck.
Yeah. And there were a lot of lonely nights for me. But now I'm at a point in my life where I'm like, thank God. Because I've several times sent out memes and whatnot to friends of Neo dodging bullets. Because I can look at the train wrecks that I dodged.
Oh, I've done the same thing. I've come up and I've been like, whoa, that was close.
Yeah. And I can realize that, and this is a much deeper debate, but, just the state of relationships today.
We can talk about that sometime.
Yeah. And I can look around me and see the perfect couples 10 years ago, 5 years ago. They're the perfect couple. And now I watch it just go down in flames. Mm-hmm. And especially how the courts are set up for men. If you've got a kid, you're And I'm like, yeah, the white picket fence will be nice someday, but not in this environment.
Nope.
I saved myself a lot of sorrow,
and that is
chasing this dream.
That is a whole nother debate. But yeah, that's the idea of sacrifice. Like I said, I gave up so much to be where I am.
Yeah. I would much rather have, and everybody's entitled to their opinion, especially about my films and whatnot. But I am much more proud and glad and happy. And I use that word loosely because I don't believe in happiness. But
less misery than normal.
Yeah. I'll just go with proud.
This does not suck as much as it normally does.
Yeah. content
There you go.
with my life, having gotten the films on Blockbuster, into Netflix, finished the saga, made a great film in Lady Lawman. I'm so much happier or more content having done that
Yeah.
than having a wife and kid that anybody can do.
Right.
You know, just don't
It's-
pull out. That's your. I'm a dad.
Yay! Congratulations. Yeah, it is. It's because people. We often talking about sacrifices and part of goals. You know, I've always kind of wanted a family. I always wanted a little girl, and it's not going to happen. I gave that up to be where I am. Would I do it again? Probably, because what I do, where I am, the way my life is formed, the things I have going on. Not to sound, I don't want to sound like, well, this is going to sound weird, but I can't imagine a better existence for me than where I am. Within it, I mean, not like, I could live in the land of milk and honey and, have scantily clad women feeding me grapes or whatever the hell you do, but I mean, for the kind of life that I envisioned for myself, I'm really doing pretty well. But there was a lot of sacrifice. Like I said, gave up my family, gave up all kinds of things, gave up time at home, gave up holidays, gave up stuff. I lived overseas for many, many years. I missed the last couple of years of my father's life, and he's gone now. I mean, there's all kinds of things I gave up to be where I am now. Would I do it again? Yes. And I think even people who know me would say that this is what I was meant to do. This is what I was meant to be. Knowing you the way I've known you, as long as I've known you, I can't imagine you being other than what you are. Maybe not where you are or whatever, but the way that you have formed your life is where I thought you would be.
Yeah.
And I can see why the success that you've had doing what you want to do is fulfilling, and would be more fulfilling than almost anything else.
And I can look at my life and say, would you do it again? Yeah, in a heartbeat. Does it mean you wouldn't have kids? You wouldn't have a family? Yes. Easiest choice I've ever made.
Right.
There are times in my past where I was heartbroken and was like, oh, but I now, where I'm at now, and especially looking around me and looking in the eyes of married men and the slave wages,
love 'em.
the wage slaves, and see in their eyes and see what it has done to them, and knowing the freedom that I have.
Yeah, we're taking a very morbid view of family life.
Yeah, but it, and that doesn't mean that I don't believe in the family life, and I believe in the nuclear family. I think it's the greatest thing that is the basis of Western civilization.
Just not for me.
But it's been f***ed up.
Yeah.
They f***ed it up, and they're intentionally trying to destroy it.
Yeah.
So it is that bullet I've dodged only in sense. If it were the 70s, yeah, absolutely, sign me up. But,
Yeah. Well, it's a concept of, and we can get, that's a whole different conversation of how things have been screwed up in the world. But in the end, the idea is that you have to achieve a certain number of things or have to do a certain number of things. And the idea is that for your film students, if we're talking to them, is that whatever you want to do, you have to go for it, and you need to push and work and understand. It's gonna sound bad. It's going to suck so badly. You're going to. There are times I've looked, like I said, when I was doing what I've been doing, I'm like, what the am I doing? What the am I doing? I've lost my mind. I cannot handle this anymore. And I had many of those conversations with myself, where I'm sitting here over the books, or something has happened, or I swear to God, banging my elbow onto my desk in my hotel room because I'm just fighting with something that I'm doing. In the end, you have to make those decisions and work and sacrifice, and it is going to suck. But if it works, if you push through, if you make it, if you survive, the rewards are beyond description.
Those sacrifices you make will be worth it, even if you don't achieve the ultimate goal.
Right.
But if I'd have, I guess you could say, like, one of the regrets that I had is not taking the opportunity to have a lot of that crazy sex that I was offered way in the past. But I look at that and I can honestly say, you know what? I could have up and I could have a kid right now.
Yeah.
And if I had a kid right now, I would not. I wouldn't have done Lady Law. Probably not the Innocent Saga. It would all depend on at what point I had a kid.
Yeah.
But those sacrifices that I really read it at the time paid off.
Yeah.
whether it was for just my life in general or to help me get those goals.
Right.
So pay the price, pay the dues. Don't bitch and moan about it. Well, bitch and moan about it to your friends.
That's fine.
You need to do that.
Well, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Get it off your chest. We're a good sounding board.
Yeah. But make the sacrifices. Shoot high. Go for the goal, unless it's an impossible dream like I want to be a woman.